I'm Killian Bonner, this is Full Rotation Fitness, and welcome to the FRF Athlete Podcast, where I bring on some of the top field athletes out there. We discuss lifestyle, mindset, and what it really takes to reach pinnacle fitness and perform at the highest level possible in their chosen sport. All brought to you in the most accessible and digestible way possible. You don't want to miss this. Joining us on the podcast today is Tipperary footballer Robbie Kiely. We sit down, pinpoint some of the milestones he's achieved throughout his career and why the unseen hours of training can never go undone. Let's discuss. Robbie Kiely, thanks very much for joining me on a Saturday morning.
No worries, no problem at all. Pubs aren't open yet, so we're sort of covered.
Yeah, we definitely maybe
has me for the cot as well, so that's good.
So, Robbie, I want to get straight stuck into the sport. Was football just always on the mind frame from growing up into school years and obviously into adolescence?
I suppose it started off as football and hurling. I think my folks, my family were always into getting us into as much stuff as possible, basically get out of the house, get away, burn off some energy, because there was 5 lads in the house, and it was a lot of energy around the place, so it was basically get out. GA was then probably one of the best things to get us in on a Saturday morning, and hurling, football was all there. But I sort of just had a knack for football. I just enjoyed it a bit better, I suppose, coming from Dublin originally as well. It was a lot of football based, and you could see the stars on the pitch when you were watching the GA towards the All-Ireland finals or Leinster finals at that time. You could always see the big games, the big crowds where the Dublin players were there. Since you were growing up in Dublin, you sort of tended to get a drag towards that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that's where the desire is. Do we have a match of 3 counties, Dublin, Tip and Cork?
Yeah. So this is a fair story, all right. My father is originally from Tip, and that's where my mum and dad sort of originally met and met up and started going out and got married and all that. But then my dad's work brought me to Dublin, and that's where I was born and brought up. So primary school was mainly in Dublin, and I think after that it was just back to the home base for my dad and my mum. They wanted to get out of the city after, I think it was 12 years we were up there, so we ended up back down the Tip, back with the original house, So that sort of happened. My secondary school was Tipperary, and that's where I got involved in a lot of development squads and a good club in Arville Rovers as well. Like, they were very, very good with the football. The hurling was up there as well, so it was very competitive, and I think Cape Town is a serious place for sports, like not leaving out soccer as well. So that really, I'd say that part of my life really shaped where I was going to go and what I was going to do myself sport-wise. And then just after that, it was, I think my mother's mother got a bit sick, so I think it was time then to move down to Cork and look after her for a bit. And at that stage, I was sort of going to college, and I was like, just in college. So I was still playing with Arville for college years. So I'd say it was from 12 to 21, 22, maybe around that. And then after college, I was down in Cork looking for a job, and I just said, yeah, I'd say it's time to get to a local club or a local senior club. And that's where Rosscarbery came along and joined them. So to me, it's all a natural flow of it. But when I say it to other people, they're like, geez, they're all over the place.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, to have connections, of course, in those 3 big counties. And look, they are strongholds in sport, absolutely. Is it a different feeling playing with your family, playing with your brothers? Is there, I suppose, I won't say more passion involved, but is it just a different sense of camaraderie?
100%, yeah. Like, initially when I came down to Cork, it was a senior club that came along, and the area I'm in is actually just junior football and probably intermediate hurling. So I wasn't at the stage where I was like, all right, I'll go down to that level just yet. But Rosscarbery came along, and they said what they wanted to do, and they were pushing a lot of years for the Cork final. So I was like, yeah, I'll give that a go. So we were successful enough with them for 4 years of them. So after finishing that, I decided to come back to the junior club. Like sort of injury wise and everything like that, and even the enjoyment of the game was going out for a little bit. Then when you get back playing brothers, you sort of realize like it's all about the community. You know, it's all about you're playing with your family.
Yeah.
So you can bounce off what happened in the match after the game and have a little skid about it. You know, and slag someone, just like, geez, you missed an open goal there. How did you miss that? You know, it's fun. Like, you know, it's a lot more enjoyable. There's less pressure on you being, you know, a senior club out there. Like, everyone still wants to win. It's, you know, it's part of everyone. Everyone prefers to win than to lose, but like, family is just different because you can just bounce stuff off each other and everything like that. It's great. Like, it's just something that I hadn't experienced in a long time, you know. So it's good.
Yeah, like and especially, I suppose, something I haven't experienced, and you know, there's a huge jealousy there to know that, you know, this man, he's growing up with these people around him, and there is I suppose, a special bond with that. You nearly know where they're going to be on the pitch. You could probably pinpoint the pass just that bit easier. But of course, make the wrong decision as well, and you'll certainly tell them a little bit easier at the end of the game. So, Robbie, I suppose one of the biggest points of your career, when you were approaching, obviously, you know, to represent your county, that was done in 2011. That was a match against Louth. How was that for you? Did you know it was coming? How much time did you have prepared? Who told you, look, Robbie, you're going to be starting your first county game?
Yeah, it was coming a while, you know. Like, I mentioned that injuries played a big part in my career. I think it was the year before we won the Munster under-21 championship, and that year I was in with the senior panel, but again, injury played its part, and I got caught that year. So my actual first appearance for Tip was like a 2 minutes cameo, but I'd never count that. You know, I'd always count Loud as the first game, and so it was there, and I knew like I had the talent and the drive to do it. I just had to get there. So when Loud came around, it was just about taking the opportunity, enjoying it. I'm a big part of that. Like, if I focus too much on the game itself, I get overwhelmed by it nearly. I overthink things instead of just being like, just go out, enjoy it, play your game. You're good enough. You've been there. So that was the whole idea when you came to Loud. It's like, you've worked a lot and you've overcome a lot of injuries, and big injuries and small injuries, but you've got there at the time, and, you know, just go out. It might be your only opportunity to show the management what you got this year. So go for it. So, and they did, and they seem to be happy enough with still hanging around these days, you know. So made it all right, decision that way, you know.
Yeah, they certainly were happy to, of course, you know, continue your career after that game. It was very clear that, you know, this role was made for you. And of course, you did bring in, you know, not getting too worked up before the match. Like, let's focus on enjoyment. I suppose, does that confidence come down to pre-season, come down to your own self-development training, knowing that, look, I have the capacity to withstand a battle, you know, for 70 minutes. I've built my fitness levels to that. What do I have to be nervous about? Of course, you're going to be marking a guy who's possibly saying the exact same thing. But does it come down to what you've done in the past? Does that give you the confidence to say, look, the work is done?
100%. Yeah, it's like I was lucky enough that I came up with Connor Sweeney, Philip Austin. It's like forwards there, like, that were unbelievable for Tip. And if you're in training and you're playing with them, and you're probably going to come up against them in training, like, most weeks, and they're going to do you a few times that week. It's just a learning process, and be like, right, management have seen me at my worst in training and my best in training, so they've chosen me on merit, and like, that's where the confidence comes from. It's like, right, I'm going to go out there and I have this in the bank, you know, this, whatever it was, starting in October, maybe starting in November, and then you have the built up through the league, or if it was a championship game, you built up through the league, and that's when the big players come around. Obviously, when you get drawn against the big teams in championship, and if you get selected there and you've played well during the year, why not just go out and just enjoy it? More eyes are going to be on you at that level as well, and you just have to say, right, I'm not going to do anything different that I do to a match down the road if I'm playing with the lads. Like, yeah, it's going to be the same. You just have to make sure that you're prepared from day one, or from the start of that month, or if you're doing homework on that team coming up, you have to say, right, this player likes to go on my outside. I just might let him go on the outside a bit more. Or, in training, you're building that little repository of the knacks that you might need to use in a game,
Yeah,
So,
and I really like that comparison as well, Robbie. Like, the match down the road, that club game, if we bring it back to underage and when you're first playing for your club, like, it's the same. We want to win. We want to win every ball in our area, and we do not want the player we're marking to get the better of us. And if you can really bring it down to those fundamentals, because I know nerves can really diminish that performance, and it can just get you in your own head instead of just being actually present in the game. So Robbie, 2016, defeated Galway, one hell of a win, and
yeah.
I believe what was the year? Was it 1935? Since a semi-final with Tipperary, so that was the first time you actually reached it.
Yeah, it was insane. It was playing that Galway game was amazing because I'd say it was the biggest crowd I've probably played in. And it wasn't even that big when you think about other big crowds that other counties would probably have. But for us, everyone was writing us off that week. Like, it was amazing. You're looking at the bookies and they were saying, no chance. And 9 times out of 10, the bookies aren't wrong. But we just went out there and we had a game plan in place, marking like key players that they had. And then, as I said earlier, and as we just touched on, it's just like, go out and enjoy it. Like, the management really was saying, lads, you're playing in Croke Park in All-Ireland quarterfinal. Like, this doesn't happen too often. Go out and enjoy it. And like that's where the performance came from. It was just literally like, go for it, lads. Like, if you're out there, you might as well go score a few points or a few goals in the case it was. And it was brilliant. It was such a thrill as well, playing that pitch and just getting that adrenaline rush, and it was just pushing you on every time you're going for a run or anything like that. And then, yeah, qualifying for a semi-final was just the cherry on top.
Yeah, brilliant. I suppose you can't really prepare for those events. Of course, it is the pinnacle of your career, and you just wish that, look, I'm going to get a full performance in that game. And obviously, like the crowd as well. I'm sure that was one hell of an experience, getting out of the tunnel, seeing, I suppose, the scary nature of Croke Park looking down on you. So I suppose in a short space of time, we had a huge high of the sport, and I suppose we did have a low as well. After 10 minutes in that game, Robbie, you were shown a card. It was in the colour of black. That wasn't great, but I suppose the outside feedback says it wasn't a cynical foul. Obviously, the ref thought it was. But even if I think Jim McGuinness, he actually came out and said in an interview that, look, I don't believe it was a cynical foul. I know he is one of the men that really don't believe in the black cards of football. How was that feeling for you? Did you maybe not believe it at the time?
I couldn't believe it. I was there 10 minutes in, and Mayo brought the onslaught straight from the start. They were going for the juggler from the start of it. So there was a high intensity from minute one, and we were getting up to speed with it. And it was a weird one because I sort of got caught on the outside of my man. Just you're caught. He got a run on the inside, so he was goal side, and I think it was Aidan O'Shea was coming through the middle and just put a little hand pass over the top. And the hand pass from Aidan O'Shea was actually too long, so he came across me as I was trying to sort of get back, and it was just like, just cross-tangling sort of thing. It's actually a bad pass when I look back on it, but like, the ref called me over. He didn't even say a word to me, which is the funny thing about it. And just saw the black card go up, and I was like, absolutely stunned. And then walking off the field, you realise, like, sugar, like you're goose there, you know. And then you have the big screen up, and I just looked at it, and they were zooming in on me as well, and I was like, Christ, just swallow me up here, like, you know. It was just shocking, and there's nothing you can do about it. John, the ref has made his decision, and it was massive blow to us, like I'd say, and yeah, massive blow to myself, obviously. You know, playing at that level of a game, and that year we were playing well, and in the end, the match was close enough. We thought it was like 1 or 2 goals that sort of lucky bounces, and that's the way it went for Mayo. And yeah, just wasn't to be. You know, it just wasn't to be. There was a twist in the tail, and at least this year I got back to another Ireland semi, and got to play a bit of a dream out, you know, and just sort of close that chapter. And I can laugh back at it now these days. You know, anybody mentions black cards, some people goes, but I just laugh at it. I was like, listen, not many people got to experience that. It's one of those things that happens in sport. C'est la vie.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm sure you wouldn't talk about it that easy if I asked you after the game. We've had a couple of years now for the dust to settle. So just with that then, was, I suppose, there any confidence then that you dropped for the following year? Or was it just, look, that happened, I was very unlucky? Did it take a while when you went back to the dressing room? Because look, there was only 4 points in that match. Like it was there for both teams, of course. Did it take a while? Was it a day to just kind of say, look, I know it's a game, I play this for enjoyment, I'm not going to think too much about it?
Yeah, it took a bit. Like, you know, I went back into the dressing room at halftime, and I was fairly down, but you're trying to give a little bit of advice to the lad that came on, say, listen, like, just watch his left leg, you know, or this fella, he prefers to go on the outside of you than on the inside of you, you know, just trying to give little nuggets of information. But I probably with no help at all, you know, because my head was scrambled. But yeah, I after that, I took a week or 2 just to absolutely close myself off from a lot of people. But I think that's the wrong thing to do as well. Looking back at it, it's not the best thing to do. I think you just have to get on with life. I think my girlfriend was actually very good at the time. She was just like, it's done, you know, it's game over. It's to get on with life. It's in the past. And yeah, so following year, didn't even think about it. I just said, I'm not going to let a lad get on the inside of me again and chase back like that. So I'm not going to make that same mistake that got me in that position, if you know what I'm saying there. It's a learning process, you know. You're just trying to prevent that from happening again, so you can't do that mistake that caused the issue in the first place. And that was the big thing. It was like, black cards here to stay. Like, that decision is not going to change anything going forward, and you just have to get on with it. You know, you have to work your game around it. You have to make sure that you're up to speed with it. So yeah, just get up and go on and do what you can.
Yeah, like you can't enforce the rules. Of course, you're there to play the sport, and whatever, you know, rules are inflicted on the sport, you have to go by that. You have to buck up, and you need to go for it. And with that, Robbie, do you believe in the new rules coming in? Personally, I want to give my opinion first, and I'm not a fan of when a forward can catch a ball and all of a sudden the play is stopped, and now the defender needs to sprint back into position. So on, I suppose, the outside looking in, it doesn't look like an attractive sport for a defender anymore.
No, it's not. But I think it's getting a lot of good publication this year that it's improved. The game is improved, you know. But like, I don't understand the forward mark at all. Like, it's for me as a defender, it's crazy, because if you have players that can pass the ball, I'm actually surprised that management haven't made more of an opportunity to actually go out and emphasize it, because you have 2 forwards in the inside line. You just need to take 1 forward out of the game completely, and the defender has to follow him, and then you have a huge space on the other side. All you need is a good passer to loop a ball in, and then he can run out and catch it. Like, you're not, as a defender, you're not going to predict where this fella is going to run. So he could run left or right. I still have to be like, if I'm in front, I'm all right, but he's still going to get a yard or 2 on me. You know, unless you have to push him back, and then the ref's going to say that's a free in because you've obstructed his run out. So yeah, that one it's good for an attacking sense, but not for a defender. So like, I think for us as well is that it's actually going to increase the amount of sweeper there that actually people don't want. People don't want a sweeper. Like, you don't want to be playing lads in front of the full back line, but it's going to happen if there's a team using this forward mark a lot. It's going to happen. Like, you're going to have the defense is packed out, so their spaces aren't there that I just said. Like, you're going to have a defender put over there to say, all right, they're kicking the ball over there, you have to stop that, you know. So I don't know, it's one of those things that it's good and bad, I suppose. It's good for the forward, bad for the back.
Yeah, it is, absolutely. And it's actually surprising that a lot of teams aren't utilizing it as much as you're saying there. I wonder, is not having the rule there playing a factor that they actually might want it to disappear? But there's certainly teams who do have that playmaker, and they can really, really make use of it. So it'll be interesting, will that kind of feed into it? Anyone listening to this podcast now, they might implement that into their game plan.
We've got an idea there now.
So Robbie, last November, another one hell of an achievement. We got to do it on Bloody Sunday. Talk to me about that. I suppose, was it a bit weird, or was it a bit strange to, go into Croke Park now and not have a soul in there? Only your teammates, only your management. How was that?
Yeah, very, very strange. You're going in there and you're playing one of the biggest games of the year. It's All-Ireland semi-final. You've got there, and there's no one around. We were driving into the pitch even on the day, and you'd normally have like pubs all open, shutters, like everyone there, Mayo fans all over the place, Tip fans all over the place. Streets full, but not a soul. Like, you're driving into the Dublin city, and you'd see an odd Tip flag out the door, or you'd see an odd Mayo fan actually there supporting them going in the door, and you're just, it's so surreal. Like, it was such a strange feeling going there and not having any supporters, not having any crowd. Sort of, you'd normally hear just the sound of the crowd above you when you're inside in the warm-up area in Croke Park, but pure silence. And it was like, for us as players, it was one of these things that it's a game the same as every other day. You're going out, and because of 2016, we had a bit more confidence against Mayo, which sort of didn't play into our hands. We sort of took them for granted and didn't take it as it's a new game, a start from scratch. But us as players, we felt this opportunity. It's Bloody Sunday. It's a huge day in Tipperary GA history, or all GA history actually. And it was just one of those things that you felt that it was something special going out on the pitch, and seeing over in the corner you had the Bloody Sunday Remembers sort of stage there. It was lovely. It was lovely. Like, it was one of those things that I'll always remember, and it'd be a great memory to have, and just to be able to say that I was there, played it, and it was some experience.
Yeah, like even when you said it, that banner on the hill, I think, or was it the opposite stand? Like, you knew you were playing a part in history. Was it used in the pre-match speech at all? Did you mention it? Were the doors taken off the hinges with something that was said or anything like that?
No, it was actually definitely put to the back of the mind. It was, we tried not to let it affect us as well. Like, as well as that, in the Munster final, like the week or a few weeks before, with the commemorative jersey and everything like that, it was always put into the back of our mind. We don't want anything like that to affect what you're doing. Like, it worked for the Munster final. I don't know, it should have been brought forward maybe, but that's hindsight as well. But in the dressing room itself, it was definitely, lads, we have a game to play. There's an opportunity here to get to an All-Ireland final. Doesn't come around too often. Let's go for it. But no, we didn't really bring it up too much inside in the dressing room. It's maybe we should have. But it helped out a bit.
Okay. So Robbie, we've had some fantastic highs in the sport. This year, is this one of the lowest? Obviously now you have to deal with a grade 3 hamstring tear and some tendon issue as well. Also, what are we talking recovery wise?
So initially, when we saw the scan, it was long term. It was nearly 5-6 months, they were saying. But got to a specialist. He had a look at it. He looked at the scans. He looked at the strength of it, and we're actually saying that it could be 12 weeks more than the 5 months. So it'd be another 2 months taken off that initial prognosis, let's say. It's just the way it was torn. It was sort of like it was across the tendon and the muscle, but it wasn't too far that I would need surgery. So it's a lot of rehab, it's a lot of rehab that is straight line runnings for now, progressing into turning and different movements that you'd need for football, like catching a ball, stopping quick, like impact off players, tackling, quick turning, all that sort of different areas that we need to progress into. So currently straight line running, progressing very well in it, so it's pretty good. But when I heard that prognosis, I actually wasn't too down by it because it stopped being the first low. When I was 2009, 2008, did cruciates, 2 cruciates in medial in my knee. So I was 16 months out with that. So that was the biggest one that I had. So anything that's, someone says 3 months to me, I'm like, sure, that's only a drop in the water. Like, it's nothing. Well, everybody would look at it and be like, gee, that's some time out. Like, fair enough, I'll miss the season, like the GA season, but it's not a whole year of my life gone, which is a relief, like, so yeah, happy enough for that.
Yeah, like well, look, it's a fantastic mindset to have and to look at it like that. You're certainly going to be playing September, October with your club. I've no doubt that's going to be an aim this year to get back for. So you're always looking, I'm not losing a full year of me being a player, of me being an athlete, training, self-development, and you know that. And that's how you can keep that confidence, keep that energy and positivity. So just with Tipperary being renowned as a hurling county, I suppose there is maybe a debate or maybe some rivalry at all. Have you ever experienced that from club playing, county playing, anything at all?
No, not really. To be honest, when I was growing up, it was very much dual playing. Like, there wasn't any of this like burnout chat, which I feel is coming in a bit more these days. For the younger generation coming up, which is funny to look back, because when I was younger, I was playing three matches, maybe 3.5 matches at the weekends, which is soccer, hurling, football, everything that you could play was playing. But with Tip, no, we've always been good. Like, we've always had a good relationship with the hurlers. They go about their business, we go about our business. County board's been great. They're like, they give everything pretty much level, which is fantastic. And obviously, if you're a Tip man growing up in Tip, you have like a love for hurling. And as I said at the start of this, is like, I grew up in Dublin. I saw Dublin players playing football, the biggest stage. All the young lads in Tip have seen Tip hurlers play football at the biggest stage, biggest crowd. So I've no problem. I don't think anyone in Tip football has a problem with a lad going off, giving hurling a go if they've grown up playing football. Yeah, have a shot at it. Like, if you're looking to do it, you got to do it, and you have to see if you're good enough to get there. And if you're not good enough to get there, Tip football will always welcome you back, open arms. So it's one of those relationships. It's like, yeah, go off, enjoy it. We'll always be here, Joe. We're always welcome you back. But yeah, it's funny, like, watching, listening to or chatting to lads coming back from the hurling. If they've come back, they sort of have a different view of Tip football than they have further. Joe, we'd if we win any big matches and we go out, and we'd have nice night out, enjoying ourselves, having the crack as you would. But they're saying the hurlers, they're so well known around the place that there's crowds around. You get a lot of different people coming up to them. But the footballers, they just can go out, enjoy themselves, and relax. So I take that as a positive for football.
You can have a great night out.
Exactly,
No one will come near you.
Yeah.
So just I suppose why I brought up that was because over the last maybe probably 5 years, dual players, they've kind of been forced out. They've been told you have to make a choice. I feel that's wrong, just because the GA is not a professional organization. You need to work outside your playing career. So therefore, why are we playing this? We're playing this for enjoyment. We're playing this for the pride of our family. And if you get the chance to represent your county, well, look, you've reached the pinnacle of that sport. And to be able to do that in 2 sports is phenomenal. And that just shows the type of athlete you are, the mindset you have. Do you feel that's wrong? That, you know, you are, I suppose, at a crossroads, because dates will interlink, training will interlink?
Oh yeah, like I think it's crazy. I absolutely agree with you. Like all my age group anyway, I grew up playing dual, hurling, football, and there's so many lads on the football team that played hurling up along, and a few of them got into minor teams, 21 teams, but they just didn't make it at that higher level, which is fair enough. But now that they're getting asked to go and choose so early as well in their, say, inter-county career, they're not giving themselves an opportunity at all to go out and see. Like, they might be extremely talented players, but there's going to be a huge pool of lads there hurling as well. And you might get there and then you might feel that, geez, I'm only on the 26, 27, made it, but I can't break into that. So I'm playing 3 years just get into that panel, but I feel that, like, as I was saying there, is that some hurlers don't make it. They can fall back, and if they still want to play at the competitive level of intercounty, like, they can fall back into like a football sense. But if they change that so early in their career, it's pretty, you're losing everything. Like, you're losing that football ability, like building up playing football or playing hurling at that 16, 17s, 18s, 21. That's a huge area where you develop, like, everything. Like, you develop your ability to take hits, you develop your ability to go past players, power, all that sort of thing, your drive, even technical skills. Then as well, it comes back down to, takes a while to get that back into you if you're out of a sport for so long. So yeah, I definitely think it's not the best. It's definitely not something that I'd ever tell anyone that I'm related to, or any of my friends. They're like, they're thinking about giving up something. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you're going to get, like, I find that for myself, and this is my opinion, is that if I play something for all my life and just that, everything, every day is this sport, I will lose it. I will absolutely go mad at, like, you could have a bad week at that sport, but you still have to, don't have anything else to fall back on, take your mind off it. But you have to divert yourself, open yourself to new things and opportunities. So yeah, singling yourself out for hurling or football is not the way to go, in my view, anyway.
No, it's definitely not. And the longest that you don't have to make a choice, the better you are going to be when you actually do decide of that sport.
And you'll figure out what you like. Like, I chose football out of playing hurling all the way up to 21 intermediate level in Tip, and I was like, actually, I just prefer football right now. So I went to football. So that's just to agree with you again.
Yeah, exactly. So Robbie, with other sports, have you ever been attracted to heading off to Australia or head to a trial to try maybe break into AFL?
Never was asked. No, yeah, like, you'd always have it in your mind, I'd always be thinking, like, you could go off to Australia, get into like VFL and stuff like that, and try to build up if you're really interested. But I don't think it's definitely not a sport that I'd be good at. Like, I'd probably, like, I'd always talk back and be like, yeah, maybe, maybe if I actually worked on different area, like the different style of game, like, it's very aerobic and in the air, which is not really my game. So it was one of those things where it never really came to my mind, and I was always like, football is just a game that suits me down to the ground, you know, and I just love it as well. It's weird when you're out of it, you love it even more, and then when you're in it, you're like, you know, yeah, it's tough work, but it's for the big days that you're doing it as well. So I never really came to mind. As I said, it's one of those things that I just probably wouldn't excel at too much.
Well, look, we don't know, but we do know if you have went. We certainly wouldn't be talking about some of the dates that we've listed on this podcast.
Yeah.
And like you said, how special they are to you. Like sometimes I'm sure they get you up in the morning for training, and you realize, look, this is what I'm doing for this. I'd love another moment like that. Like, you know, we bring back 2011, 2016, and of course, last year as well. And just with, I suppose, your own development, Robbie, is that something you take very seriously? Obviously, now we're looking at, you know, a long summer of rehabilitation. Rehabilitation. How do you feel about just that importance side of it? Do you feel that if someone isn't putting in the unseen hours, obviously we can do a hell of amount of work with our team. And of course, how important strength and conditioning has been brought in a team environment. How important do you feel it is taking that home?
Massive. It's part of the game. Like, it's actually it's part of the sport. Do you know, people say that it's an amateur sport. Yeah, it is an amateur sport, but these days is that everybody knows where the gym is, and everybody can see improvements when they go to the gym on a consistent basis and have a plan put out, have a right program in place of what you're doing, and you can even see your results yourself when you go out onto a pitch and play the competition. For myself, like, it started off, I was nearly at the very start of, say, the GA strength and conditioning was when get big, strong, you know, bigger and stronger, better. You know, that's the way it was at the start. So I hit the gym pretty much 3 times a week outside of football training itself, and got big, but I found that I was getting slow. I wasn't like the movements that were required, the quick turning, you know, even the mobility to get around the place was sort of lacking a bit. And then over the last few years, you can see that coming in a huge amount now in strength conditioning programs. It's all about getting your flexibility up, your mobility up, your range of movement, like full range of movement on every exercise you're doing. And that's something I can see even more benefit me now. I can see that, Jesus, I feel better on the pitch now. I feel that I'm playing my 70 minutes or 60 minutes at the club, and I can feel that after the end of that, I've done the work in the gym, and I've got my strength and my mobility, flexibility all up, and actually my body's feeling much better after the game, you know. And partly I believe that part of this injury that came was because that gyms were closed. I wasn't able to get and do my full range of gym program. Like, I was doing a ad hoc program at home, and it was just something that I sort of neglected a little bit, and that's on me. Like, I neglected that, and I said, right, I have to find a way of doing that now, because I just didn't have it. It was glute based work, so a lot of glute based work that I was sort of just missing out on. I didn't have it, and it found me out. Then when I went on the pitch, I was like, yeah, that's why you do it. And then it's my own. It's down to myself. As I went out of my plan, and I was thinking that, you know, just because you don't have that tool, you have to find another way to do that tool or do that exercise. So yeah, that was the biggest revelation this year, was that, you know, you can't really skip a certain area when you're trying to improve yourself. You know, everything counts, and everything is put towards your goal. Like, that could be go out and get on the starting team, but if you do your work behind the scenes, you get on, no problem. You know, get your skill work, handling football all up is the exact same as the gym work. You know, everything plays in tangent. You know, everything works together.
Yeah, like, and even when you were looking at your younger years, you know, bigger, better, stronger. Let's just focus on that. But now, where you're at right now, what more can we interlink with that? Obviously, flexibility, mobility, your range of movement, and how powerful that is has an add-on effect, of course, when you are becoming a stronger man, because ultimately you want to be a faster man as well. And even as you said, like, gyms are closing. very hard to attack your posterior chain when we don't have that equipment. You can do it, of course, but it's just going to take a lot more creativity. And I can assure you that, you know, like get all the backs of your lower limbs and of course your lower back up to the backs of your shoulders as well. So Robbie, what I'd like to finish with, and something that I like to ask everyone I do meet, is your non-negotiables. What is something that you just must abide by to be confident, to be positive, to know that the work is done? Obviously, you're very, very confident in the skill of football, but just in daily living, is there things that you feel I just can't let slip?
There's a few things, Joe's. At this stage, it's sort of one of those things you don't even think about anymore. But I definitely need to just get up in the morning, and the initial thing is get that mobility in, get that stretching in. Because I know that for myself, it's just an absolute. I'm like a wooden plank. Like if I don't have any stretching there anymore, but like it's a habit that's born into me these days. Is that you get your mobility and you get your gym work or your exercise. It's one of those things is that you're either doing a training session or doing a gym session. Even on your off day, you're doing a little set, like even if it's going out for a walk, just getting out of the place. Because I find that the mental side of the thing is massive with me, like, you know, because I do find if I think about football too much, I'm absolutely engrossed in it and totally overtaken with it. So I have to get out and about. I have to clear the mind. So with that, the exercise helps that. You know, the exercise absolutely just takes mind off it. Yes, you're training for that sport, but you're actually just that moment in time you're concentrating on when I'm doing this exercise or going for a walk. I even go out golfing just even on my own, just because I just want to clear the head, focus on one thing only, and that's hitting the ball around the course or something. You're just clearing the mind. You're just getting out of your own head. That's the biggest things, like, you know. Nutrition plays a part in it. I do have plenty of cheat days every now and again, but no, again, with that, if I'm going on nutrition, it's in the morning, it's always pretty regimented, pretty like you're either having your scrambled eggs, toast, or else you're going omelette with a load of veg thrown in there. Because I just like, it's so weird, a weird thing. Like it's just veg is just massive for me. Like so I just throw it on everything. I was like, yeah, veg, throw it on it. No, that won't do you any harm. So yeah, that's the morning routine is everything for me. That's non-negotiable. It's like if you start off your morning right, I'm happy out that day. Perfect.
Yeah, like it's a snowball effect. Morning routine. I'm delighted to hear you say that, Robbie, because even when you relate it back to the mindset, like who does feel bad after a workout? You know, it doesn't happen. You feel absolutely fantastic. That comes down to, of course, your mobility. And I really like the sentence, you know, getting out of your own head. And if we look at, I suppose, players, if we look at athletes, if we look at, you know, people who, you know, I suppose take fitness and they put it on a pedestal, they know how important it is. Let's get that done first thing today. Let's get it done immediately. That's the most important part over for today. Everything just falls into place. You're not going to have a training session hanging over you. You might have had a hell of a day and we're home at 6 o'clock. And all of a sudden, something that we love, something that we enjoy very much is now hanging over us because we've left it to the very end of the day.
And that's the funniest thing is that when you do leave it to the end of the day and you're dreading it, in the back of your mind somewhere, you know, when you do that session, you're going to feel better. Like it's such a funny thing, you know. It happens a few times. So you're going up training, you're like, oh, geez, I have to go training. But then at the end of that, the endorphins have gone through your body, and you're just like, I'm buzzing. I'm back to what I'm usually like, you know. So you're dead right.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like endorphins, you know, it's a free drug, and everyone needs to get on that buzz. Absolutely, because you'll see your best personality with that. Robbie, I think that was fantastic, man. Thanks a million for sharing your career development. And of course, you know, the fire inside, what gets you going, your non-negotiables, I think is absolutely top class. And I'm certainly there'll be a lot of implementation from this.
Fantastic. No, it was a great chat. Loved it. It was brilliant.
Brilliant, Robbie. Thanks a million.
Thank you so much for listening to the podcast today. I hope you gained some valuable insight into the mind of the athlete. Keep up to date by following us on social media at Full Rotation Fitness. But if you want to take your own personal development to the next level, receive the best possible structure and guidance that you need, then you must join a community of athletes, transforming their lives every single day. Do not hesitate to get in contact. Your time is now. The FRF Athlete Hub is a growing culture of aspiring athletes all working towards the one goal, to become the best version of ourselves both on and off the pitch. With monthly challenges, weekly lessons, exclusive athlete gear, and library of information from workouts to nutrition. Don't forget the mindset. The FRF Athlete Hub is the mecca for all our explosive athletes. If you have the drive and the determination to maximise your performance, then join hundreds of past, present and future athletes. The FRF community is where you will reach your potential. Just head over to our Instagram page and drop us a message. We'll see you very, very soon.